Welcome everyone to our May Women Veterans Alliance monthly member webinar. I am Danielle Marshall. I'll be your facilitator today. If at any time during the presentation there are questions that you want to ask, and if you hold on to them to the end, they might go away. Feel free to add them in the chat at any time. So we're going to go through the presentation. I'm going to make sure you have some resources. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to do an open round robin session for business and entrepreneurs. So that if there are any pressing questions in your current business or the business that you're wanting to start, that we can get those questions answered for you as well. So today we are discussing habits of successful entrepreneurs. My name is Danielle Marshall. I am an Air Force veteran and entrepreneur / business owner. And I have had the privilege of being a business owner and working with business owners for over the last 14, 15 years. So today's discussion, we're going to cover traits of successful entrepreneurs. We'll discuss the habits of entrepreneurs. That's kind of our focus today. So that's going to be the bulk of our discussion. I'm going to give you some quick implementation ideas for growth. And then we'll have some resources to assist with the success of your business. And then we will cover Q&A. So there are definite successful entrepreneurship traits that we're going to cover first. And those are passion. So you absolutely have to have a passion about whatever it is that you're doing. If you don't have a passion, if you're not excited, generally your audience or your target market or your customers will not be as excited about what you have to offer either. The other thing is we put more energy and effort into those things that we're passionate about. And so passion is definitely a trait that a successful entrepreneur would have. There's also persistence. And so you will find if you're not quite in business yet, or if you're, just kind of getting started, you have to be very persistent as a business owner. Reason being, you might be bringing something new or, challenging the thought process of a prior service or product that people are used to seeing. And you have to be persistent in getting people to understand what it is that you're offering, why it's different, why it's important. You have to be very creative as an entrepreneur as well, because you're kind of reinventing things or you're, making things better. Sometimes you have to be very creative about, how you spend your time, where your resources go to, and, just different things like that. So creativity is a definite successful entrepreneurship trait. Independence, and we know this from being in the military, is going to be another of those traits that's highly important. Being independent as an entrepreneur is going to ultimately define your success. And the reason I say that is often you're a one deep shop. So in the Air Force, we would always say that. I'm not sure how the other forces related to that, but one deep shop meaning it's all you. So until you get to the point where you can delegate or hire certain activities to other people, or you get to that point where you kind of learned your business in and out to be able to train somebody else to do the things that you're doing, you have to be able to work independently, and nobody's going to tell you what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. And so, when you're transitioning from like a corporate setting into entrepreneurship, that's one of those things that you kind of have to, meet head on, because you often, though you might have some anonymity to do things as you want, independence is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is independence. You kind of have to be motivated to do things on your own. You also have to have a certain intuition. And I don't mean intuition in terms that you need to, be psychic. However, you kind of have to have the intuition to be able to see market trends, to understand customer buying habits, to find out if a product or service that you're offering, is meeting the market at an appropriate time. So one of the things that I like to point back to, case in point, so we live in such a digital age, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. So one of the platforms that has kind of come back. And if you know, you were around 90s, 2000s, there was MySpace, right? Late 90s, early 2000s. MySpace has opted to come back again. However, their product in the marketplace, it seems as though it's an obsolete one. So in terms of intuition, you have to know, is it the right time? Are you ahead of your time? Are you in that sweet spot? And whatever that looks like. So that's what that intuition pertains to. You have to be self-reliant, meaning you have to understand that you're going to rely on yourself for most of what you need, though there are probably going to be people who can assist you with resources. You will have some of those cheerleaders. You still have to be able to rely on yourself. Self-confidence is going to be key, because if you're not confident in the gifts, the knowledge, the education, and the experience you have, other people won't be either. The other thing is, you get told no quite often as an entrepreneurship, especially getting started. And so you have to be confident that that no is not a no forever. Oftentimes it's a no, not right now, or it's a no until you revamp your vision or the way you meet your customers where they are. And then last but certainly not least, you have to be willing to work hard. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir right now. Us being veterans, or members of that veteran microcosm, the military microcosm, we understand that hard work is paramount. It's imperative just to our success as human beings. But as an entrepreneur, it's equally as important. So now we're going to get into habits of successful entrepreneurs. So I just kind of mentioned some traits, but here are habits, and I'm going to, kind of explain a little bit about why each of these is so important. So number one, successful entrepreneurs create clear and concise visions for their company. The reason why that's so important is because as entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little creative at times. And so inevitably, we come up with 1,000,001 ideas, right, to present to our customers. We can get spread so thin in trying to be a jack of all trades that we don't have the focus that we need on what we're trying to bring into our business, or trying to produce from our business. So you want to make sure that the vision that you have for your business is one that's clear and concise. You also want to make sure that you're willing to pay the true cost of entrepreneurship. And so oftentimes people will assume, I start up a business, money's just going to come, I'm going to be successful because what I have is, the best thing since sliced bread. However, the true cost of successful business ownership, the true cost of entrepreneurship, it includes sleepless nights. Sometimes it's, those shoestring budgets or no budget at all. Sometimes, it's really just kind of coming up against those obstacles on a repeat basis that you're like, oh my gosh, this is taking a time away from my family, or, from relationships with friends or coworkers or whatever else that might be. So understand that there is a true cost to being a successful entrepreneur. And sometimes it's sacrificing your own time, the time that you could be spending, resting or learning something new, though those are habits that we're going to talk about that you want to incorporate into your business, but understand there is definitely a true cost. You want to be, as an entrepreneur, in the habit of daily self-reflection. And the reason why that's a successful habit to have is because you need to constantly ask yourself why you're doing what it is you're doing. You need to understand how it is you're offering what it is you're offering. And if the ways that you're doing those things are effective, you also need to take a real focused look to understand what it is that you do well. So that's important, because oftentimes people do things because they can, not because they do it well. And it's really important as an entrepreneur that you focus your time on those things that you do well, and then we can kind of learn about delegating the rest. But if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you don't know how you're going to produce, manufacture, deliver services, especially in an evolving economy or evolving business world, no one else will. Successful entrepreneurs view money and finances, it should say tool, not toll, my apologies, But you should be able to view finance and money as a tool. It's not an end. So oftentimes people want to get into business or start entrepreneurship because you think there's a lot of money in it. And oftentimes there are, but it takes work, it takes time. And so money and finances can be milestones to reach, but it's not going to be an end all. Successful entrepreneurs, they have a habit of offering products and services versus selling them. And so oftentimes when we are in the market of selling, right, people don't want to be sold, and so much of our worth, so much of what we believe to be success is based on what we're selling to people. So we come out with 30 million product lines, and then we offer this service, and then we're going to offer this, and then we're going to offer that. We need to be able to offer a concrete, concise product or group of products or services that are clear and concise. Like I mentioned before, you're not in the business of selling, though you might be a salesperson, you're offering products. People don't like to be sold, but they will invest in things that you're offering if it enhances their lives. You really want to learn new information daily. I'm a lifelong learner. I have had the opportunity to have gone to college several times and graduated with, bachelor's and multiple master's degrees. I don't say that to say that it makes me better than anybody. It just makes me someone who really has an affinity for learning and understands that the business landscape changes daily, and you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to recognize new trends. You have to also be building your network on a regular basis by learning, new trends, new organizations that you could be part of or equip and empower. It's helping you to gain knowledge. And that's an amazing habit of entrepreneurs for you to move forward in business. You absolutely have to understand time management. So often as entrepreneurs, especially if we have other things that seek our attention in a given day, whether it be a corporate job, whether it is, a nonprofit or another group that you're volunteering your time to, you have to, or it could even be your family, you have to understand that you are the only person who can manage your time, and know those activities that are literally things that are sucking your time away. And know when it's time for you to delegate certain things. And the reason I say that is because oftentimes it's more expensive for you to try to hold on to certain activities than it is for you to delegate and pay somebody for it. So case in point, imagine in your service industry, you have valued your time, and that's the next topic. You have valued your time at $200 an hour. However, to do activity X, Y, and Z, it takes 10 hours a week to do that, right? So if you are looking in terms of your worth, that's $2,000 essentially that it could cost you. However, you could have somebody who is paid, let's say $15 an hour, 10 hours a week, that's $150. So does that make more sense about how valuing your time is more cost worthy to you versus, trying to keep all those activities inside your own wheelhouse? You also, in terms of valuing your time and understanding time management, you want to learn when to eliminate certain activities and organizations where there is not a mutual benefit. And by that, there's a lot of times that we do things that make us busy, but it's not productive. And so productivity and busyness are two completely different things. You want to make sure at all times that you're being as productive as possible. So often as entrepreneurs, we create these habits of thinking that we need to be busy in order to look successful, right? It creates this illusion or this appearance of success. So we join this organization and we go to this marketing or network group. And really we're giving of our time, we're gifting of the resources, we're offering raffles or whatever that looks like, but there isn't a mutual benefit. And so it's costing you to be in those spaces. So take entrepreneurs, to be successful, you need to take a really hard look at eliminating certain activities and even organizational ties that are not providing a mutual benefit. Now, I won't say that you need to cut out everything, because you don't. And oftentimes we give, especially as women, we want to give and help to empower other people in other organizations, and that's okay. But just understand that you can't do it with every organization, and you don't have the time to be able to do things that way. It's also really important to understand certain business relationships where there isn't a mutual benefit as well. We're going to cover that in the next slide, but there are some really important reasons why I say that. So the next portion of habits of successful entrepreneurs, you want to understand, you want to know, you want to understand again, right? We're always seeking understanding. You want to invest and you want to focus. So the first thing you're going to understand is understand that as an entrepreneur, you have to get in the habit of understanding that being turned down or being rejected is inevitable. People are going to tell you no. People are going to assume that what you have isn't of value, or that maybe it's not right for them, and that's okay. You have to get in the habit of removing your personal feelings from certain situations, and it is not always easy, I will say that. However, understand that people rejecting or turning you down for whatever their reasons is simply that. Those are their reasons, and you want to try as much as possible to remove your personal feelings from situations. So failure, to me, it isn't an option. And I'm not saying that things haven't happened where I failed in business. However, it's not a place where you want to dwell, or it's not a place where I dwell. So even if maybe things don't work out, then I realize it's time to readjust, remove personal feelings, and figure out how to move forward best. Failure is a destination for somebody, or, sometimes. And so failure is not an option, meaning staying in that space is not an option for you if you want to be successful. We all make mistakes. We all kind of have those missteps. You need to learn how to evaluate as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, and then move forward from there. You need to know when to cut ties. And I kind of touched on this with activities and organizations not to be a part of, or to kind of remove yourself from. However, as business owners, we tend to give more than we should. So if you're in business to be in business, you have to understand that it's transactional and it is relationship. However, that relationship or those transactions shouldn't cost you your time. They shouldn't cost you your sanity, and they shouldn't make you devalue what it is you have to offer. Does that make sense? So you want to cut ties. Sometimes it's, partnerships that you're in. Sometimes there's vendor relationships. Sometimes there are, people who you thought would be great opportunities for you to help to segue into market. And you kind of get this, soon. Well, after 6 months or a year of talks where literally you're always giving, and there's no reciprocation of that business relationship, know that it's often time to cut ties. And that can be with banking institutions. It can be with business partners. Sometimes it can even be with those we hold, near and dear to us. I'm not saying in personal relationships. I mean, just cut those business ties as needed. Again, we're going to seek understanding. Understand that your actions are often a direct reflection of your success. So often the way we communicate in multiple different arenas, people tend to hold on to those things. We live in a social media age where literally everything that we do is put out into the internet universe, and often it's there permanently. Understand that the way you communicate about anything from politics to parenting, or how you view business or customers is something that is there and that people can see. And even if we keep things as private as possible, there is a chance that people will see, conflicting opinions. It doesn't mean that you agree or disagree with anything. It means that you have to understand that your actions and the way that you present yourself in business are going to be a direct reflection of your success. I'm sure that we all occasionally watch the news, or we'll see, you know, these posts that go viral on your Facebook or your Instagrams or anywhere else where somebody was caught saying something out of context, or there's a video that shows this, or maybe you don't have a great rapport with your customers or your business colleagues. You need to understand that the way that they react or don't is a direct reflection of your success oftentimes, because we can make those little missteps that will hinder us and sometimes ultimately affect our business in a very negative manner, or even in a positive manner. You want to make sure that you're investing in you as an individual and your business. The two are completely different things. You need to understand that it's really important for you to hone those skills that you have. You're already a subject matter expert in the field that you're in, but invest in you personally. Invest in downtime if that's what you need. Invest in, doing those things that make you feel good about what it is you're doing. Invest in learning more about your market or about your competitors. And then as far as your business is concerned, invest in systems that will help you to, enhance your business or make things run more efficiently. One of the things that I've invested in business lately is scheduler. So I have an administrator who typically will handle appointments because I do business consulting, and then I also do wardrobe consulting. We'll talk about that a little bit in the focus next. But I was having more time contacting clients to try to schedule times to work with them on their business, because you miss an email, you miss a phone call, or things tend to run over. But I had to get more efficient about the way I was spending my time and understanding how that equated to cost. So I implemented an actual scheduler app so people can go on to that schedule. They pick the time, whether it's office hours, whether it's a client intake, or whatever that is. That's their allotted time. When it's time for that to be over, it's over. I don't feel bad as a business owner because I've given them the time that they've requested and or the time that I've been compensated for. And then I'm not spinning my wheels trying to get business or trying to contact people. I'm of the understanding that if people truly want my assistance, then they will come to me. So that's just one of the tools that I've invested in. You could also invest in a virtual assistant. A lot of times the administrative portions of your business are those that take a lot of time and energy, but you can get a virtual assistant for, let's say, $250 a month, who can kind of handle those tasks that maybe you don't want to give all your attention to in the interim. Also, you have to be able to focus as an entrepreneur. You want to focus on what's truly important to the success of your business. Whenever you're in business, your goal is to focus on creating a solution to a problem, not necessarily a product or service, right? You're creating a solution to a problem, and oftentimes it's before people even know they have that problem. When again, you're offering that solution, you're not selling. You're helping people to solve their problems, and you're making their lives better. You want to focus on having a valuable product or service to offer. Try not to get into the business of spreading yourself too thin and having product or service offerings that stretch everything that you're doing too often, because again, it takes from your time, it takes from your focus. You don't really have a chance to kind of reevaluate what it is that you're doing. You also want to focus on a clear message. So helping people to understand that what it is you offer adds value to their lives, or it helps them to simplify their lives. It takes a lot of focus to be a successful entrepreneur. So one of the habits will be focusing on, really what's truly important to your business, creating solutions to problems. If you're filling a need in business, you'll always be in business. If you're selling a product or service, you're only as good as or as successful until you get to that next sale, if that makes sense. So here are some quick implementation ideas for success. I hope you guys have like a pencil and a paper, a pen and paper. This will be recorded, just so you know. So quick ideas. You're going to want to evaluate your day every single day. Evaluate what worked, what didn't work, where you spent your time, what your time was actually spent on, what you can kind of reevaluate. Were there positives? Were there negatives? You know, and what are those opportunities for growth that you have? And then kind of shift your business to reflect that. I always say shift happens. So oftentimes in business, you're always having to shift what it is that you're doing in business. Again, especially in light of COVID-19, we're having to do business a completely different way than what we were used to in that dreamer economy that we had before. You're also always going to plan for the next day. I like to plan in 3-week increments. So I like to plan my calendar out 3 weeks in advance. You can do it, you know, more or less, but every day I like to see what's going on for the next day so I can mentally prepare for what's going on, so I can find out if there are times throughout the day that tasks can be delegated, so that I can understand where I have the opportunity to take breaks and literally just clear my mind. Because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there are so many hats that you're wearing, and it can be exhausting. Now, when you add that there's other components or other facets in your life, such as additional jobs, there might be families, there might be friends, there might be other obligations, there might be disabilities that you have. And I am a disabled veteran, as I'm sure that many of you are. And so there's certain times that I have to plan when I need downtime. And if I don't plan that in advance, it just makes it look as if I don't show up for something, right? So I just want to kind of be transparent and help you to understand that even I go through things. And so you just want to try to plan for those as much as possible. It's really important to write things down. And I like to say, if things aren't written down, they don't exist, but it helps you to get into the habit of visualizing the things that you have to do or the things that you've done. Creating lists create a sense of accomplishment for you. I like to do 5 task lists every day. So a list with 5 tasks that I absolutely have to complete. I'll add an additional 5 that are maybes on there, but I love to be able to check those things off that list. The other thing is, again, as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, there's a lot that's on your mind. There's a lot that you're responsible for. And sometimes things fall through the cracks. If they're written down, it's a visual representation of what you need to do, so it'll help you to stay on track. You also, in order to be successful, need to schedule times that you unplug. So we lived prior to this in a 24-hour news cycle. Now it's minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. So it's really important for you to take those moments to completely unplug from those news cycles, or from social media, or even as a business owner from your business. You have to schedule time for yourself. And you kind of have to schedule time to reevaluate. And so if your attention is being distracted, because you're on social media, or because there's, news cycles on, or anything else like that, you want to try to schedule in that time to kind of restore and rest. And oftentimes our business minds can get skewed by what we're hearing and seeing, because it kind of creates a panic. And so in business, people will say, oh my gosh, I can't go to work right now. And that's a valid concern. Or, I don't know what my business is going to look like. Or, my business in some cases has increased, 3-4-fold as a result of the pandemic. And so if you're not unplugging and you see these other things happen, it actually adds to that dread or that anxiety behind everything. Read. And so when I say that, I mean read scholarly articles or peer-reviewed articles, or industry specific materials that will help you to gain a new skill, to learn a new habit, to understand, again, market trends or industry trends that you might have. So you want to make sure that you're reading. Actually, that's one of the top ideas or success tips that most highly successful entrepreneurs will tell you to implement. You want to maintain your personal hygiene and appearance. Reason being, especially right now, we are in a world where literally our video is all that we have. Or once we're able to conduct the new normal, business in the new normal, you always want to make sure that you're presenting your best self. And sometimes that takes some maintenance, or hygiene considerations. The other thing is you want to prepare in advance your outfits that you're going to wear. And the reason why I say that, if you can think back to those days that we were in the military, we didn't have to think about what we were wearing, how we would present ourselves, or anything else like that. So we were able to focus on whatever that mission was that we had on a regular basis. So not knowing what you're going to wear, you know, right before a meeting or, you know, in any given instance will actually take more brain power. And there's actually a psychology that goes along with that. And I'll say, especially as it pertains to women, if we get up, let's say we're prepping for an interview or a meeting an hour before, we'll go into closets, and then sometimes we'll figure, okay, I want to wear this. Maybe that item doesn't fit, so then we don't fit our best self. We try on 20 different outfits before we go to where it is that we're going. So much time, energy, and effort has already been devoted to now that wardrobe. And if clothes don't fit the way we would like them to, I'm a perpetual snacker, so sometimes things just don't fit the way that I want them to. However, that brain power that you had to have a successful meeting or a successful interaction has now gone out the window because it has gone to that wardrobe. So you're in a specific state of mind before you get into those first business activities, and that actually comes through, believe it or not. So sometimes having I won't say necessarily a uniform, but understanding what you're going to wear in advance is going to be very helpful to create time and space to think about and focus on what it is that's really important. You want to reevaluate your business every 30 to 60 days because things change, and you always want to know what it is you can do better. And that evaluation could be talking to clients, you know, seeing your sales or your revenue trends. It could be, you know, looking to what competitors are doing, if they're offering something, you know, in a that's more readily available than what you had to offer, or if you are seeing, you know, head and shoulders above that competition. So you want to make sure that you're reevaluating your business every 30, 60 days, and then kind of plan what those activities are going to be that your business is going to do moving forward. And last but certainly not least, I cannot express this enough, that we have to, as entrepreneurs, in order to be successful, you have to add value, but you have to believe in your value. You are that subject matter expert. You have that experience. You have created, you know, this product or service. You have, you know, the experience and the sacrifice that you've put into this. Do not undervalue yourself. Stop undervaluing yourself. And so when I work with business owners, I always try to show them what market trends are, and based on the activities that they're providing for their company or for their business, or that value added service that they're offering to customers, if you were to pay 4 people, because often we do the job, you know, of more than one person, what would that look like in terms of cost for those people? And so you should be valuing yourself the same way you're valuing somebody if you were going to hire, meaning you are as valuable as your business. So you don't want to lessen or allow other people to place a value on you, if that makes sense. So here are some helpful resources that I want to share with you. These are specifically federal resources for veteran-owned small business. So this is information for the Small Business Administration. They actually have an Office of Veterans Business Development. So I added that link here. The Department of Veterans Affairs also has an Office of Small and Disadvantaged Businesses Utilization. So if you're a small business, typically you have under 500 employees and you're under, I believe it's $2 million in revenue per year, you have the ability to access all of these programs, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to be free for you. So this is additionally a part of that federal resource, but the SBA has small business provisions, and I know a lot of people have talked about, you know, PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, or the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. There are also jumpstart loans. There's loan forgiveness. If you had a current SBA loan prior to the CARES Act being implemented, prior to COVID-19, banks can actually pay for those loans for you on your behalf. I would love to share additional information about any of these programs if you're currently in business and you need assistance. There's also EDD options and assistance. The other thing that I really want to make sure people understand is that under the CARES Act, there was a military reservist economic injury disaster program, or disaster loan program. So it's the MREIDL. And in the situation that there's an essential employee that's been called to active duty, the business can apply or be qualified for that additional loan process. This is not something that's open to all small business owners. This is military specific, and you can actually get a loan up to $2 million based on SBA's assessment. Just understand that anything over $50,000 will require collateral based on, you know, different considerations that the SBA will spell out for you. However, if you know someone, or if you are that person who's been called back to active duty or, you know, guard service in light of COVID-19, there are special loans and provisions specifically for military. Here are some additional resources for veteran-owned businesses. These are education and training resources. So the first one is going to be the VA Office of Small Business. Then there's VetNet, or the Veteran Org. There's the IVMF, so the Institute for Veteran and Military Families, that's offered through Syracuse University. There's veteranentrepreneurship.org. All of these resources have a ton of information, and oftentimes there's grant opportunities, there are mentorship opportunities, and much more. So I will definitely suggest that you kind of look into these resources. SBA has a ton of resources available, and these are free. So there's women's business centers. The one that I work out of is California Capital, so that website is there. There's also veteran business outreach centers, and then there's SBDCs, or small business development centers. They all do the same thing. They all offer the same resources, and you don't have to be a veteran or a woman to go to any one of these. We just finished up a 2.5 week small business disaster relief series with California Capital and Women's Business Center. All of those webinars were recorded, and we can help to walk you through step by step if you need to apply for resources, if you need help with creating a business plan, if you need to know how to pivot a business. That's exactly what we're here for. I'm one of the consultants / counselors that offer those services. And then, of course, womenveteransalliance.org and Women Veterans Giving. If you are a business owner, the Melissa Washington Small Business Award application period is open. It'll be open, I want to say, through the end of June. Please make sure that you do apply for that opportunity, because you can get valuable financing or a grant for your business up to $5,000. The other thing is, I will personally mentor you and advise you in your business. If you're currently in business, or if you're looking to start a business, we're still offering those resources for you. So in today's discussion, we talked about traits of successful entrepreneurs, different habits of entrepreneurs, and what will help you to be successful. We talked about just some quick implementation ideas for growth, and then gave some resources available to assist you with your success. So with that, I am going to open it up for questions, and then check into our chat and see what information we might have. So one of the questions is it realistic to believe that every successful entrepreneur is successful in all these areas? That is a great question, and the answer is no. Quite frankly, we need to find out what we're good at, those things that we do well, and learn to either delegate those opportunities to someone else or partner with someone who has those habits. We can always develop those habits over time, but you're not going to be successful in every area. I'm not successful in every area. No one is, because there's no such thing as perfection. It's something that we work towards, we strive forward to, but no, that's a great question, Jennifer. Thank you. Oh, and then yes, there is also a Veteran Business Outreach Center. We have one in the greater Sacramento area. I will say that we also have the Women Veterans One Stop. So we focus a lot on women veteran business at the Women's Business Center. So similar resources, just a different office. So absolutely. What other questions can I ask or answer? Uh-oh, Carolyn, I think you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So the thing that you're saying for the end of June, I missed what.
Awesome. Okay, so that is the Melissa Washington Small Business Award. And so that you can actually find additional information on the Women Veterans Giving or on womenveteransalliance.org. That is up to $5,000 grant for your business to be utilized. It could be growth, it could be purchasing a business, it could be developing a product. You will get one-on-one mentorship and business advising throughout that program. Even if you're not selected as a winner, we will still make sure that you have those resources for your business. Let me say that. However, if you are a winner, you will get an additional $5,000 or up to $5,000 to invest into your business moving forward.
Okay, great. And could you just show me your slides again? And maybe instead of writing them down, I'll just, take a picture of them instead, because there's so much for just the last ones, the federal, the resources ones.
Absolutely. What I can do is, if you'd like, I can email them to you directly, if that would be helpful.
That would be great.
So just do me a favor, and if you would like any information that I've covered today, feel free to add your email into the chat group, and then I can email you directly.
Now, how do I?
So in the chat, yep. So I got one. So yep.
Chat. There
yep, and Gilda, I'll absolutely email you. So just make sure that you guys add. You can do a personal where you put your email where everyone can see it, or there's like a little pull down menu where you can just say that you want to email me directly. Totally up to you. But just make sure that I have your email address so that I can get that information to you. Do you see the chat feature?
There.
I think we froze. All right, what other questions can I answer for you right now? Do you have any pressing business questions? Do you have maybe any obstacles that you kind of want to work through? Do you have any success stories, in light of COVID-19? Believe it or not, yes.
So please. I have an obstacle.
Okay.
So I apologize, I'm not looking very presentable today. I'm a carpenter. Okay. So I normally look a little bit better, but I'm on my lunch hour right now. So I'm in the process of, I am very passionate about building and fixing things. I figured out after a long career in corporate America that I needed to leave it, made a huge career change, and now I'm a carpenter and I love it. But there is so much I have to learn in my industry. However, I have recognized there is a need for construction consulting,
yes,
which is basically providing home improvement DIYers with a teacher and a mentor to help guide them through their projects at home. No one that I know is doing this. The problem is I'm such a novice in my field right now. I mean, I've been a DIYer for years, but I am learning very quickly when I'm working under my boss, who's a master carpenter, how little I know. And so what my biggest struggle is right now is lack of confidence in my industry, and it's very difficult for me to get past, okay, I struggle with, well, there is this need that I have an opportunity to step into and fill, and although financial success is not my driving force, there is a way to capitalize in this market right now on providing this service. But I am so new that I don't feel like I know anything. And so how do I present myself as a subject matter expert to my clients and not look like I'm just kind of faking it till I make it?
Okay. That's a great scenario and a great question. And so there's a few things that you can implement right now, right? So we talked about those traits of successful entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So one is having confidence in you. So I heard you say that you were new to this often, but you've been a successful DIYer for a very long time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you're not new. What you're offering and the way that you're offering it is new. You know what you know. Nobody can replace or take away that knowledge that you have. I think the unique opportunity that you have is just creating that vision and creating that space to be able to say exactly what it is that you know. Your employer, your boss being a grand master of all things contracting, right? That person can be your resource. So you find out from them what specific tips are, and then you utilize that information. No one knows everything. No one knows everything. I'll just say that, myself included. So it's really important to know what you know and then know where to find those answers to things that you don't know. When you're able to articulate that, you come across as more authentic, and you will be able to gain customers because already you're saying you're not in business simply because you want money. You have an opportunity to fulfill a need. The other thing is in your industry, in that industry, there are not a lot of women. So you have the opportunity to shine your light and help to equip and empower other people to do the same. So exactly. I really think that it's important for you to own that space right now. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly. And I really want to empower the women in this space. And I'm actually starting a Facebook group of women working in residential remodeling, because that's what I do. Okay. And so I think it is important to always be giving back what you know. I'm a big proponent of that. Yes. But I guess it was really hard for me to sit here and think, okay, how do I give back when you still need to fill your cup before you can have enough to offer?
Yeah, well, so you already have a ton to offer because you're already doing that. You're already walking the walk, and there's a belief in what you have to offer, right?
Absolutely.
Filling your cup is what you do over here. So that was like that time management, that evaluation, different things and always learning. And then you offer. And the other thing is giving back doesn't mean you give everything for free.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure that you are looking at what it is you're offering, and even if it's snippets. So a quick and easy tool for you to use would be like a YouTube or like a Facebook Live, where you could do 5 to 15-minute tips that somebody could put into place. I'm a horrible DIYer when it comes to home improvement. So if I could hear from another woman, specifically a veteran, about how I can do something that's going to make, things look night and day better, I would pay for that service. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. And make sure I have your information. There's some other things that I'd be happy to share with you.
Okay. Perfect. The other thing you didn't mention, and I always try to stress it to people, and I'm surprised, I'm not quite sure why not as many veteran entrepreneurs don't take advantage of this, but and especially in my industry, getting veteran and women-owned business certified.
Yes.
It's that, for me in my industry, that is going to be a huge selling point. I've already recognized, and I'm already going to be doing it, but I don't understand why people don't do it. I truly do not.
I think it's a stigma, right? And so at California Capital at the Women's Business Center, we actually have a PTech where we can help you to get certified and even submit for government contracts. Like there's a lot of relationships that we have with different DoD entities. But we have a problem with being identified as women sometimes, right? We want people to know that we're successful. We want people to know that we are, whatever that subject matter expert is. But we have a very hard time saying that, I'm a woman on top of it, when really that's a strength that we have.
Absolutely.
Technically, we are far more well-versed in multitasking, though it's not always healthy. But there's a lot that we have to offer, and we really need to lean into that. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Give me just 1 second. I just need to make sure that my computer is plugged up. But yes, so we can absolutely help you with that certification. So there's some paid certifications, and then there's some spaces where there's self-certification. And so we'll help you to kind of navigate through both of those.
I have a question.
Thank you for that. Are there any additional questions that we can answer?
I have a question.
Okay.
You can go ahead. What happened?
Martha, go ahead.
Okay, I thought she had a question. She was going to go first. Okay, I have a couple of questions. First, you were mentioning the things that you were doing that are available in California. Does one have to be a resident in California in order to, okay, because we are veterans. Thank you. Then secondly, I like what, I forgot her name, Jennifer, am transitioning into another field. I was a government employee for years and it was killing me. I'm a pharmacist by training. So I'm going into medication therapy management and functional medicine. And I'm also going to add another component, which is fitness, to kind of an umbrella under that. And it's going to be geared toward women, dealing primarily with PTSD and things of that nature, to kind of do retreats. And I'm a scuba diver, so I'm going to offer that as well, because diving has shown to be amazing as far as helping with emotional issues, and also going to internationally teaching children and all this. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm in Mexico right now. but but I was wondering, with all of those things, does one need, I was going to put it under one umbrella and just kind of list it individually, like under one website, which is the one that I gave you, something kind of like that, because I'm a pharmacist, and apothecary means store, so you can come and get various things from a store, a pharmacy. And so I was wondering, does that make sense, or do you think one needs to separate each one out individually, or am I just crazy that I have all of this stuff going on?
No, I think that's a great question. It's a lot. Like, you have a lot to offer, which is amazing. And I know that struggle. I have to fix this. I know that struggle as a clinical lab technologist or clinical lab scientist before. And so business consulting is very different, right? However, I think that in terms of like the naturalistic or the holistic care and approach that you're giving, people will really want to know about your pharmacy background. So I would say you want to kind of keep that. Now, whenever you create a line of services that may seem, you know, to people who don't know you well enough to be unrelated, you want to be very careful about how you present though, because it makes us look like we're focused on too many different things at once, right? So if I am looking for, let's say, functional medicine versus, you know,
Western,
therapy,
yeah.
right?
Western
So I'm
medicine.
going to come to you because you're going to teach me how to move through that. And there is a healing component. We do know that oftentimes we, whenever we have, you know, PTSD, anxiety, and different things like that, we're bombarded, you know, with medication and stuff. And so you can be that subject matter expert, and then those additional services can come as a part of what it is you want to offer.
That's what I was planning to do, because what I'm looking at, the actual name of it is psychoneural immunology.
Okay.
It's the actual name, where you're combining the mind and the body and the healing process to go forward.
Okay.
So that's the whole everything, and I'm incorporating, you know, the mind, the body, and the natural healing, you know, herbalism and all of that. I do all of that. So.
And you just remember when we talked about like painting that picture for would-be customers, your client and your target market for certain services, they're going to look different. They're going to be different. So you want to make sure whatever that message is that you're giving meets your client where they are, or your target market where they are. If you give too much, people get overwhelmed, and then they don't see where what you offer adds that specific value to their lives. Though it's all valuable, people need to understand, you know, okay, yep, that's what I need right there, or no, that's what I need right there. And then you, as that educator, you can educate them once you have their attention on how you're going to assist them and how those other services will benefit them.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Carolyn, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I actually have a couple. So to start with the first one, my husband and I have been working, and he's already kind of started it as well himself, as far as a delivery and transportation business. Okay. We've had so many ideas over the years, but with the ages of our children, as well as you know, my suffering with the PTSD and MST, and the age of our children. Like right now, our youngest is about to go to kindergarten. So that is huge. That is like the biggest thing where I'm like, yes, I'm gonna have some time to be able to, start focusing on this stuff. So we're gonna have a kindergarten next year, first grade next year, and fourth grade. So the thing is that I've read that if you start multiple businesses, or at least, two at the same time, if one is not doing as well, you can help offset that with the other one. And so like right now, he's already started like the transportation and delivery stuff. But my dream has always been a women's veterans nonprofit organization with, on the side, a pottery studio, where the pottery studio is also a therapy for the women. And don't tell anybody my ideas, because I haven't seen it anywhere yet. But
you want me to stop recording for now?
Okay. Oh, well, okay. Well, I already put it out there, but if you see where I'm coming from,
You don't
just
have to
that.
call specifics. You don't have to, yeah.
Right. So it's just that I'm trying to think of, would it be smarter? Because I know the big thing is about being concise, and I've read that before too. You don't want to have too much stuff, because then you're not looking as much as an expert in this area or that area, and then too much is overwhelming. And I have this, and we also have this too. And so I'm like, should we just focus on what we've already started with the delivery and transportation, and then later into the year, once the kids are in school again, or do I start the women's nonprofit and etc. on the side as well? Or what would you recommend?
So there's a couple things there, actually. So the first thing, basic business foundation is basic business foundation, right? So you can create foundations for both. The thing with starting any business is that in some cases, you will replace a 40-hour work week with an 80-hour work week, right? Working on that specific entity. So ask yourself these questions. Do you have the capacity to devote 80 hours to 2 different entities per week? What will your focus be versus what will your husband's focus be? Does that make sense? And so I don't want to tell you don't start multiple businesses, because that's not for me to say. But you really want to be thoughtful about where you're spending your time, how you're spending your time, and sometimes just putting your time and resources into something that becomes a success is enough, versus saying, well, if this doesn't work out, then I have this. Does that make sense? Because plan A, B, and C, I'm all about it. You might need to pivot, but just understand that it's going to take a lot of time and energy and effort for any business. And so if you want to work on those foundational activities and create a business plan, I'm a proponent of business plans. We have software through the Women's Business Center that you can actually create a business plan for free. And it's 13 modules that takes you step by step, because quite honestly, whenever you go through those activities, you'll kind of think, maybe I don't want to do it like this, or maybe I don't want to do that, or maybe this isn't as exciting anymore, or, maybe I'm head over heels in love with this now. So I would say to go through those activities and be very, very clear about what it is that you want to offer, why you want to offer it, how you want to offer it, and what would success in that space look like to you.
Okay, that makes sense. Because also at the same time, like, it makes sense on you're saying like how much time it's going to take. And at the same time, while they will be in school for, some of the day, we still don't have any friends or family or babysitter or anybody that I've ever trusted to watch them. So that is the continuing struggle. And hopefully I'll get to that point now that they can talk and communicate.
Yes. And then the other thing is as an entrepreneur, you might not have typical business hours too. And so a lot of times when people are moving from a corporate career into entrepreneurship, your regular job is 8 to 10 hours a day, no matter what. And then you come home and you start working on that business. And so sometimes there's sleepless nights, early mornings, late nights. And so just understand that that's going to be part of the process as well. If you do have a family, I would say that it's a great opportunity for you to have a conversation with your entire family, including your children, just to kind of explain, this is what our family is doing. because little kids don't always understand when you're not available, or you're tired, or or anything else like that. But it's important if you can tell them, this is why we're doing it, so we can do A, B, and C, and you get that buy-in, right? And then just understand that the time that you're focused on family, and even if it isn't children that you have, even if it's friends or a spouse or other organizations, the time that you're with them, you're with them. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I'm sure you saw me put my camera down and mute it several times throughout the call. And then luckily my husband just got back, so I've had that extra minutes in the end.
I'm a mom too. I have two. They're college and high school now, so the life is a little different. But my oldest I was military, got out when I had my youngest, and there's been some times where I try to make sure I was at all field trips, all basketball games, baseball games, but there were times where like I'd be at home and have to shut a door and be like, look, so for this hour or two, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And oftentimes too, when you work from home, the idea is that it's not as important or as eventful. People will think if you work from home or it's not as professional. That's not the case, right? So we just need to help people understand that what we're doing from home is no different than what we would be doing in an offer, and kind of set that expectation for the same respect.
Right.
Thank you. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversations today. Is there anything else that anybody else has? No? Thank you so much for joining. I apologize if we went a little bit over, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully you were able to gain, something from today's talk. I know some people had to get back to work, but I would be more than happy to work with all of you, and maybe give some advice or some suggestions in the future.
Great. I would really appreciate that. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. And no, you don't have to be in California for me to help.
Thank you.
I'd like to visit though.
Anytime.
I used to live in Sacramento. That's where I grew up.
Okay. We're actually, I'm going to stop this.